Action! And welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here in Chicago, Snake in Texas. We are recovering from our Philadelphia trip. We are here to recap Game 5. We are recovering.
We're trying to recover. It was a long couple days for us. We got to see, two polar opposite games. Game 3 and 4. Obviously, we came back before Game 5. It looked like going into Game 3 as the game was going on. Okay, like we're in the midst of something special here in Philly, and we're like, if they win tonight and they win tomorrow, like how do we leave? So I don't want to say that I'm happy that it ended the way it did, but we got to see two polar opposites. You see a shutout, 7 runs put up, and then the very next night, look at that response from Houston. And then I think Game 5 was what people expected for a majority of the series. Really closely contested, kind of back and forth, some good pitching, battle of the bullpens. But the series overall hasn't been that way. Last night was really the first time we saw a super close game, and it could have gone either way. There were opportunities on both sides to kind of separate themselves to break it open. But the Arms did a good job, and tremendous defense all the way around from both sides, I thought.
Yeah, there's some specific plays I want to get to, but just higher level is through 5 games, incredible stuff. Like Game 2 is probably the most forgettable, and that has tremendous controversy with Valdez and the stuff on his hand, and he pitched very well, and the Phillies almost came back from that game on Saturday. But by and large, just everything has been historic, every game. So now that we're kind of going back to, I shouldn't say kind of, now that they're going back to Houston, 3-2 series, good opportunity to reflect on some of the history that we've seen. Game 5, Justin Verlander, it looked like that could have gone real south with the Schwarber leadoff home run. Just an incredible blast. And then he came back and pitched well, and they won.
He did. But look at, if you go to bottom of the second also, there was there was a knock from Segura. Then there was, I believe it was a Marsh walk. I think it was 2 walks, back-to-back walks. All of that transpired with 2 outs. And then you have Rhys Hoskins that comes up. And you see Verlander kind of approach that at bat a little bit differently. He gave him a fastball, above the top of the zone. It missed by quite a bit, but you saw Rhys's reaction. Yeah, that played some effect. It wasn't close to the zone, but it kind of changed his eye level. And then what did he do? He threw some really nice tight sliders. Ended up getting the punch out there, but that's a big opportunity. You give up the leadoff homer in the first, and you come out in the second, and things start to get a little weird for Verlander. And he's notorious for starting kind of slow, but then kind of figuring it out, dialing it in like the second, third, fourth inning. Because if you don't get to a guy like him early, he typically doesn't allow that to happen as the middle innings and late innings kind of wear on, and you see him over the course of his career, he'll be 93, 95, and then in big situations, he's popping 98s, 99s. So he found a way to kind of focus and dial it in and make some really big pitches there. That punch out to Rhys kind of set him up for the innings after that, but it could have gotten out of hand, and he finally was able to get the monkey off his back. There's not many accolades that this guy needs. I mean, everything from this point on, for JV, and he'll probably tell you the same thing. It's like now he just wants rings because he's probably going to win his 3rd Cy Young. He's got an MVP. He's got a Rookie of the Year. He's done everything you can possibly do as a starting pitcher in our game. So he got his World Series win out of the way, and it might not have been the most important thing for him, but it's a relief. When it's your 9th start in the World Series, the numbers are what they are. So to win that game on the road in a 2-2 series, to win Game 5, and now you get to go home, and you got to win 1 out of 2 in your home park. So the position the Astros are in, I mean, you really couldn't ask for anything better. So it looks good for them.
What do you think of this? Okay, so it's Sunday, Game 7. The Houston Astros are up 1 or 2. They need a couple innings. Is Justin Verlander available after throwing 94 pitches? If you're Justin Verlander, are you available Game 7?
I guess that's I don't even know if it's a good question. I love you, but come on, look at all the options they have there. You know, like if it's JV when he's 30 or 32, 34, yeah, maybe. But he's got 200, whoever knows how many innings. Like, no, he had to throw a lot of high stress pitches in that game, and we talk about this all the time. Like if you're just coasting, like you throw 7 or 8 innings, 100 pitches, and you're just like breezing through the order. There's rarely a guy in scoring position. The bases aren't clogged. You feel different the next day. I guarantee you it feels like shit right now. And not only because he's getting up there in age, but he had to really grind through some of those innings. So no, I wouldn't expect to see him come in for a couple innings. Is it completely out of the question? No. But you look at what their bullpen has been able to do. I mean, Presley hasn't given up an earned run in the postseason. I mean, he might, if they win the World Series, he's got to be a name for MVP, depending on what happens in Game 6 and Game 7. We all know that Pena is probably the front runner at the time being. What if Valdez comes out in Game 6 and just throws an absolute gem? And looking at what he did in his last start, maybe his name's in there. So. No, I would not like to see JV pitch in a relief appearance, and I think it's going to be an easy decision for Dusty just because he's got so many dudes down there that can get the job done.
It's interesting call on Pressa. I was just trying to get his game logs up. I'd like to see a reliever. It's the last time that's happened. For Verlander, for me, it's the 5 innings. It's quick. It's not like that lengthy duration. That big start, but it's good enough, and they win that nail biter. And opposite him, Noah Syndergaard. You know, Altuve and we talked about this plenty, that he just tries to get going early, sets the tone for the Astros. He did it right away against Syndergaard, and I think a lot of people swallowed their, like, ooh, we're going to be in for another fucking beatdown. But Syndergaard pitched well enough. Well enough, did he? Or do you think they should have pulled him in the 4th? I was surprised that he was in the 4th because they went right to Alvarado.
Yeah, in a high leverage situation, I think like meat of the order, and Thompson's kind of shown that he'll do that, especially in the postseason. I think that Syndergaard, if you said, hey, Syndergaard's going to give us 3+, he's going to give up 2 runs. I don't know. I think they might have taken that. And if you kind of address all of the information that we have about Zach Wheeler and the situation he's in with his health, it made more sense. I mean, 7 days rest. I don't know. I guess that there had to be something there to where they felt like it just wasn't the right move. So we need to go to Syndergaard. And I thought that he pitched pretty well. The only thing that really bothered me was that 2-2 slider or curveball that he threw to Pena. It was just, you know, we talked about the Lance McCullers start and just like the lack of conviction. It seemed like, in my opinion, in some of the pitches that he was throwing and some of the breaking balls that McCullers was throwing to the Phillies hitters. And that pitch just, I mean, yeah, sometimes it can get away from you, but that was center cut. I mean, almost like middle in, had no bite to it. That's really the only thing from Syndergaard that I saw that.
You're talking about the 4th inning home run to Jeremy Pena.
Yes. And the 2-2 count, I mean, with no outs, it's like, man, you got to, and he knows this. I'm almost positive that he would, you know, come to us with the same sort of sentiment that I'm talking about here. But that's really it. I think he threw the ball okay. He didn't have any walks, no walks. He had 4 punch outs. It was really the 1 homer. I didn't like the infield end. You know, after the Altuve double, got to third base on the error. And then Pena had a pro at bat. Give him credit, too. I mean, he kind of stayed inside that 94-mile-an-hour sinker there. It was a tough pitch. But that out is recorded. I mean, it ultimately didn't end up mattering because, you know, the strikeout, throw him out, and then the punch out to get out of the inning. But that could have got away from him there. I mean, if infield's back, look, you almost have to assume that run is going to score in the first inning. You get Altuve to third base with nobody out. I'd say 90% chance that run's going to score. So, you know, if you look at it from trying to kind of limit damage, you have the infield back in normal position. Pena's thrown out at first base. Now it's, one run in with one out. So, but JT, unbelievable catch and throw guy. Syndergaard's notoriously slow to the plate. So give JT a lot of credit there. The strikeout of Alvarez and throwing Pena out. Big time move and allowed them to keep it at 1 run going into the second inning. And we all saw what happened with Schwarber. Game knotted up at 1. And then it was just a back and forth from there.
Yeah, great game. To 3-1, 2-1 to 3-1 to 3-2 with Segura. We're sitting there like, that's our guy, bottom of the lineup. Girardi talked about it. And then just plenty of drama towards the end. Schwarber's play, Mancini comes off the bench, makes a play at first base. Chas McCormick. And I think I read a quote, him talking about, like, I saw there's a 14-year-old boy that was sitting in those outfield stands watching the Phillies lose to the Yankees. So to go out and make that play was surreal against the Phillies.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, just before the series, had mentioned, okay, this guy is a diehard Philly grinder, huge Philly fan growing up. He's going to have a moment in this series. I think he was 60-1 to win the MVP. Mm-hmm. But just a great fucking catch. And JT Realmuto, both guys had their own little moment right there. Another biscuit for breakfast, and that ball's in the stands, and the game's tied 3-3.
Yeah, and I mean, he catches that ball. He catches that ball right up against the chain link fence that's, protecting those scoreboards there. 6 inches more, if he doesn't get a good enough jump, if he doesn't time his jump perfectly, that was in, Chas was a basketball player, so that probably helped him a little bit. I think he scored 1,000 points in high school or something like that. I was hearing somewhere. So, and you're not playing center field by accident. So he's a great athlete out there. Just a big time moment. Great swing from JT, an even better play from Chas. And if you go back a little bit to the top of the 8th, I believe it was 1st and 3rd that Houston had with no outs when that ground ball was hit to Hoskins. And that's kind of a do or die play. You're trying to cut that run down at the plate because you don't want to go up. You don't want them to go up 2 runs, going into the bottom of the 8th. I mean, every run is at a premium in the World Series, especially when you're dealing with the type of bullpen that the Astros possess. Reese would tell you that, he should have made that play. I mean, it hit off the heel of his glove, ended up getting the out. They didn't score another run. But man, when it's demoralizing when, teams kind of have tack on runs that late in the game because you're like, shit, it's already hard enough to score against these guys. So to not be able to cut that run down was tough for them. But you got to give all the credit in the world to the Astros and what they were able to do from start to finish in that game. And the Phillies fought. And let's not forget, I forget the inning where, Bryce had not a leadoff double. I think it was a 2-out double that brought Castellanos to the plate. He had a 10-pitch at bat. I mean, Verlander was making just bastard pitch after bastard pitch and ultimately won that battle. But give credit to Castellanos for, and again, talk about high-stress pitches. I mean, that's another reason that, first inning homer, second inning, bases loaded, punch out of Hoskins. Later in the game, Harper double with 2 outs. Castellanos just grinding his balls off, and so is JV. So, really awesome all the way around. I think that was my favorite World Series game out of all of them. I don't know if that's a popular opinion, but I just like how closely contested it was from start to finish.
Yeah, the Phillies had plenty of opportunities to win that game. If you're a Phillies fan, you shouldn't be utterly defeated from losing that game. You had plenty of opportunities to win the game. Castellanos had a couple opportunities. Schwarber had some big moments with some pull side ground outs that could have been big flies. And going into Game 6, Wheeler, a guy who finished second in Cy Young last year, be another guy who finished top 5 this year. One of the best pitchers in the National League, taking the mound. He pitched their Game 2, lost. So you're going in Game 6 with Wheeler. You get a win there, and I think McCullers is pitching against Suarez in Game 7. Maybe not. I was looking at the matchups and thinking who would be the next guy. I know we said McCullers probably wouldn't pitch again for the series, but if it's Game 7, and maybe it's more of a bullpen day. But my point is this: if you're the Phillies, you're looking at Game 6. It's not exactly I don't think it's Astros in 6 like guaranteed at all. I think there is a very good chance this goes to 7. Like I think that, and I know that the Astros will be favored in Game 6. I don't know the line in front of me.
We'll see what Wheeler looks like when he comes out. I can argue the opposite. Like I picked Phillies in 7, but that's if Wheeler was at 100% health. And I was looking at a little bit of his extension, and we all know his velocity was down a little bit. You know, does any of this have to do with, you know, that comebacker he was hit with, you know, a couple starts ago, right? He kind of got hit in the calf, and it spun him around a little bit.
Which calf?
It was I want to say that it was his land leg, his left calf, in both, either one. Like if it's your drive leg and your calf is tweaked, it's not going to be good either way. So, but who knows? Maybe it's wear and tear from the long season, and it sucks that it's happening. It sucks that it's happening at this point in time. But if he's not at 100%, it's gonna be tough.
I think it's right forearm tendonitis. Put him on the shelf for a little bit in August, and just from my understanding, if it's his landing leg, or if there's some issue on that side where he can't like really put everything 100%, even if it's just like 98, 97%, then like a little bit more stress can get to that arm, get to that elbow, and if there's already like tendonitis, there's just like a little bit of stress there, a little bit more stress that goes to the arm. I don't know if there's some connection there.
There's 100% connection there. If some link in the chain is just a little bit off, that's going to lead to the end result not looking quite as crisp or as sharp as it normally would. Like if your foot is all jacked up and you can't push off as hard as you're used to, as hard as you're accustomed to throughout your delivery, that end result, that ball's not going to come out of the hand the same way. And there's just like when you're pitching, you are kind of taking, you know, energy and applied effort from the entire body to deliver that pitch. So yeah, if you're banged up and something's not feeling right, it's not going to come out the same, and that would make sense why his extension is slightly off. The velo is a little bit down. It seemed to be a little bit more, you know, lateral, like left to right movement instead of as much like depth on some of his pitches. I hope that the extra day or the extra days has led to his ability to kind of come out as close to 100% as he possibly can, because that's what I want to see. I want to see Wheeler at 100%. I want to see Valdez at 100%, and may the best man win. But you know, I think that you probably have to give the slight edge to the Astros. You know, going back to their home park with an opportunity to say, hey, we don't want to play Game 7. Like we want to finish this in Game 6, and kind of put them away for good. So, but I want Game 7 selfishly. I think a lot of people do as well. And as you know, I have to, you know, side with my boys in Philly. I'd like to see them win it, but it's not going to be easy.
No,
to win two, I mean, you got to win two games on the road against one of the most seasoned organizations in the game of baseball, especially, you know, this over the last 10 years. There's not many that have the track record of the Astros. So it's going to be difficult for them. Are they capable? Of course. And they've shown the ability to do some special things in the series. You can't count them out, but they better bring it.
I'm just looking at the Astros season right now to see how often they lost multiple games at home. It happened twice in the first half, once in April, once in June.
Back-to-back games?
Yeah. It happened against Boston, 3-2, 2-1 in August. Happened against the Orioles, 2-0, 3-1.
You probably won't find many. Yeah.
Nope. That's happened 4 times this season where a team beat them twice at home in a row.
That's not many over the course of 7 months?
No, I think you have I'm probably just pulled a sample size of maybe of 30 times, maybe 30 opportunities, or probably more than that. Probably way more than that. No, they're legit at home. You got Framber Valdez obviously going Game 6. The deep staff. All the momentum in the world. You know, the Phillies, to me, it's like I hope that they haven't run out. it was great because when they got no hit, and Schwarber had the quote where he was like, "I don't give a fuck, man. I'm coming out and playing my game." And then he comes out, just smashes.
And that's what I told you too, right? Like, it's a loss is a loss. And the same thing for the Astros. They get shut out. They give up 5 homers. Okay, whether it's 1-0 or 12-0, we lost the game. Same thing with a no-hitter. Yeah, it sucks, but it sucks more for the fans, I believe. You know, like to hear that, you know, we got no hit, a combined no hitter in the World Series. Like, that sucks. But again, 1-0, 10-0, loss is a loss. And Schwarber, he said it perfectly. And you know, what better way to come out in response and just, you know, go yard to lead the game off.
Well, they just had other opportunities later in the game where it's like, well, here comes the Philly Magic. No, it was not available at the end of the game. So that was tough because, hey, the no-hitters, it is what it is, like you said. So now as they go into Game 6, you're going to need some Philly Magic. Hopefully Zach Wheeler's healthy.
I hope so, just for the sake of not only the Phillies but for the game. Nobody wants to see a guy go out there at 80, 90%. Other than the Astros. And, you know, he could still win without being at 100%. He still can absolutely win. There's no question about that. Tough. Absolutely
Ranger
tough.
Suarez slated to pitch Game 7 if it happens. No shocker there. Wouldn't
Not
be
a
surprised if
shocker.
he threw 4 innings in Game 6 and then threw 9 innings in Game 7. That dude just wants the ball. So whether he pitches again at the end of the season, you know, like this could be our last opportunity to talk about Ranger Suarez before a game.
I don't think they should even be considering Game 7 yet. If you need him in Game 6, you might have to pitch Ranger Suarez in Game 6. Like, I think because, you know, if you don't win, everybody goes home. The season's over. Astros would be World Series champs. So, in my mind, it's all hands on deck for Game 6. Like, if there's a situation where Ranger they have a lead, maybe it's a situation where it's not like the high leverage late innings yet. Maybe you need Ranger for 4 or 5 outs. I don't know. And then you'd always have Nola for Game 7 if you need it. That's not a bad option. You know, just looking, I didn't realize this, but that was Presley's first, you know, 5-out save of his career. Big fucking deal in the World Series. Too, but just the shit that these guys are featuring, like Brian Abreu, man, like every time I watch this guy throw, I'm like, this guy, he could be a closer on any team, an elite closer, and they've got him in like the 6th, 7th inning. I mean, you could pitch him wherever you want, but Dusty's got to feel really, really nice having these guys on the lineup card in the bullpen. Like, oh, which guy's next? Okay, Montero or Neris. How about Abreu? It's a pretty good feeling as a manager.
No lefties.
No, you don't need them. You know what I mean? When you have guys that their splits are so good and you can get both sides out, who cares?
The Astros killed the loogie.
Yeah.
Because if you're one of these organizations that's rebuilding a bullpen, look at what the Astros have done. They're not doing, because then with the 3-batter mix and all that stuff, they don't give a shit. Like, here's nasty, filthy stuff. Here's nasty, filthy stuff.
And it's all from the right side.
Yeah.
And you see, like, there's always that token guy in the bullpen, usually the lefty that throws like this like Frisbee submarine sort of deal. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the Astros are showing you like that you don't have to have that. And it doesn't have to be this blueprint that everybody's accustomed to seeing. But also, like, rarely do you see a bullpen constructed of such monsters. When you have a guy like Stanek who, like, has been elite, you know, historically, and then you have Garcia and Urquidy, like they don't even throw.
Yeah, the Garcia and Urquidy are.
And granted, they're starters.
Yeah, but these are guys that would be starting as clear number 3s on almost every team. A lot of teams pitching like as a 2.
Yes. Teams dying to have them.
Like, I'm thinking of the Pittsburgh Pirates. How much better is he than who they are starting on the 3, 4, 5 spot? Or
yeah, good point.
You know, the Kansas City Royals. Like, no disrespect to those guys, but these are guys that are battling for innings and opportunities with the Houston Astros that would go to other places and they'd say, man, please, this guy could win a Cy Young.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So last thing I have is just the overarching point going in the playoffs I have is it's just so hard to beat the Astros. And if to get them in a 7-game, to get them in the playoffs, your best bet would be in a 5-game series because of the depth of the pitching staff and the resiliency and the depth of the lineup. That you really just don't have these spurts where they're going to get cold or they're going to be weak or you're going to – like they beat the shit out of them. Again, great example, get their asses kicked in Game 3, show up, no hit, and kick the shit out of you in Game 4. And so as you kind of get into Game 6, you just see how hard – it's like it's not that the Astros are that much better than the Phillies. It's just so hard to beat the Astros in 9 innings because of how complete of a team they are.
Yeah, and you can't make any mistakes. You can't make any mistakes. And then there was one in the bottom of the 8th when, it was first and third, Schwarber came up to bat. Trey Mancini was in the game. I mean, he hits that absolute laser down the line. The Astros are playing no doubles, obviously. And that could have gone either way. That probably would have cleared the bases if that somehow, takes a bad hop, gets down in the right field corner. Obviously, the guy from third scores, the guy from first probably scores. And what happens, man? I mean, it's a little good positioning, a really nice player, but a little bit of luck there. Like, because how many times have we seen something like that happen where it's just like the Reese play, where it just kind of off the heel of the glove or off the fingers, and it just ricochets in a weird way, and now we got a tie game. So it was a huge moment in the 8th. And the Astros were, I don't want to say fortunate because I'm not going to take anything away from Mancini because he made a hell of a play, but definitely a little bit of luck involved there.
A lot.
Yeah.
Well, Schwarber looked stunned.
I think the whole crowd was.
He was like, come on, man. Seriously, dude. Like,
yeah.
Throw me a bone here. You were just on the bench. You just struck out. Like, throw me a fucking bone here, man.
That play saved the game.
Any other predictions here? Game 6 stuff off the top of your head. I feel pretty good going into Game 6 that we're going to get a duel. I think it's going to be awesome. I would like to see 1-0, 2-1, something along those lines. I think you see the absolute best of Zach Wheeler. I think if you get him through the first inning, if he can get through the first inning, and you see, like you've said before, the first couple pitches, you should know what you're dealing with. But I'm very confident in Zach Wheeler. He's plus 128. I do not like the Astros minus 155. I do not like – I understand – just for the gambling portion or the gambling segment of this audience, like I do understand why the Astros are heavy favorites. If you're going to take them, I'd lay minus 1.5, but very much think the value is on the Phillies plus 128, 130 with Zach Wheeler going to the mound. And he said their bullpen's ready to go too. So
I think you're going to see all hands on deck tomorrow for the Phillies. I expect Valdez to come out and throw well. I envision seeing a little bit more off speed from Wheeler, especially the guys, like Alvarez and to Altuve, who's going to come out. If you throw him a first pitch, like middle of the plate, like he's swinging first pitch of the game, and he's probably going to be on second base or trotting around the bases, and you're going to be in a 1-0 game right out of the gate. So look for more changeups, a little bit more off-speed heavy from Wheeler if that velocity is down a tick, and we got to watch his fastball command. And, I mean, there's always some information that the public doesn't have about, certain guys' physical status, health-wise. So we'll see. I'm glad that he's going to be out there. Because at one point it's like, oh, is he hurt? Like, is he banged up a little bit? Does he just need more rest? But, again, he doesn't need the 96 to 99 or 97 to 99 that he's had, late in the season and early in the postseason. I mean, he can still get guys out with his mix at 90, 93, 95. There's no doubt about it. But let's see what the velocity is like and how his command is. Because if you don't command the fastball to these big boys, man, they could jump out to a 2-0 lead just like they did in his last start.
We'll see. Plenty to watch. Obviously. World Series, Saturday night. My best friend is getting married. I will be at that wedding.
Pray for Game 7.
I think he's wheeling. I know. I think he's wheeling in a TV for me or something. But something in the back room. One of the real fancy hotels in Chicago. The kind of place that'll accommodate anything. So
I know where it is. It's a good spot.
Yeah, I didn't think he was gonna do. He was like, "You want me to get like a streaming spot set up for you?" I was like, "I'm not doing it. No one will ever talk to me again."
Well, I'm gonna be in Houston. We're heading out now. We're gonna go get the kids early from school. We'll be down there. I'm gonna try and sneak away. Maybe get out to the game. But we'll be watching every pitch. I got to go to, a 3-year-old's birthday party, which are always fun. We'll do that.
Oh, nice, man, dude. That sounds
it's
awesome.
gonna be great. Well, we don't miss. It's one of my best friends. We don't miss his kids' parties, and it's an opportunity for the adults to hang out too. Like it's for the adults also.
You gotta get the boys together every now and then.
But I'll be in Houston. I'll be in Houston for this. I'll let you know if I end up sliding away to the game. But I'm just hoping for 7 games. That's what I called at the start of the series. Good for the game. Good for us.
I said 5. I was wrong. But the 5 games we got so far have been very good. I did say, too, that I think that this, if it did end early, that we'd have a lot of drama and some good games. So I was right in some respects, but not entirely right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the recap show. There's some other news around the league. I'm not prepared to get into it in depth. White Sox hired a new manager. Congratulations to them. There's plenty of time this offseason to get into that. But for now, it's World Series mode. We got Game 6 coming to you guys Saturday night. Subscribe to the channel. We'll have more stuff out throughout the series, recaps, pregame shows, all that stuff. So until next time.
Take care of yourself this weekend, guys. Thanks for listening.